What's up, guys? My name is Srijit, and I'll be your instructor for this event of Introduction to Maya. Here we'll be discussing about the basics of Maya and how to get used to the interface, as well as making a small 3D low poly scene, like a small low poly game scene, where you can use the models as game assets as well for and you can export it to Unreal Engine and make your own low poly games with it. Let's get started. Now, this is a small PPT just to show you guys about Maya. Just an introduction to it. The first question everyone might think is, why Maya? What is so great about Maya? Let me tell you that Maya is very it's very vast. Its reach is very vast in terms of all the 3D applications. It can be used in video games, animated movies, TV series, or it can be even used for visual effects. Now, this also means that Maya can cover a lot of topics in 3D itself. It can cover it can cover modeling, texturing, lighting, rigging, and animation. So this is why many of the industries use Maya, and it's so vast that people incorporate Maya into their pipeline. So because of this, you'll see, if you have a doubt what the term pipeline is it's everything that starts with modeling. For example, if I'm making an animated movie, the first process of making an animated movie is to character model, so like model characters and stuff like that. From the modeling phase till the end, that means the entire animation phase, so everything in between would be termed as a pipeline. Maya is so vast that people use Maya for the entire pipeline, for all the processes. They use Maya, so that's why many big large production houses use Maya in their pipeline. It's been in the industry for from February 1998, and because of this, it is the industrial grade software, and it's a very trusted software in the industry. Now, if you guys have a doubt of why Maya is being used, as it's licensed, it's very costly. Why is Maya being used? And they could just cost cut and use Blender, for example, which is an open source free software. The catch here is Maya, as it's licensed, it has considerable more weight. Moreover, it is a very powerful software, as well as the learning curve for Maya is not that steep compared to Blender. Even though Blender can incorporate like a lot of features like 2D animation, video editing, everything is possible in Blender, but still, it's not used in the industry compared to that of Maya. Blender is usually used in startups, while Blender is usually used in big, large scale production houses. So this is the introduction to Maya and why we are learning it. Now, let's jump into the basics. So the first step is to get Maya, and in order to get Maya, you need to use the first link in the description box given, where it will take you to their official site of Autodesk, where you can where they'll show you everything that you have to know about Maya. So if you scroll down, you'll see that Maya is $205 per month. It is a very costly software. If you convert $205, it is roughly around 18 to 19K. So it is costly, but I feel it is worth it because the features and everything are more. Moreover, if you pay for the software, you will be more concentrated to learn the software, making you better in it as well. Now, if you do not have the money, you can always get the download free trial option and hit it, where you'll get an option of a student. We can get the option of student, where one free, where you can get like you can go where you can hit the student community as well as go to education community here. And um, here you just have to here you just need to get started here. Okay, sorry. And so I'm getting a question, but isn't Maya too complicated? Like less shortcuts in small operating window? What about that? Okay, so it's not that complicated once you compare to like the other softwares like Blender. Blender has way more shortcuts and stuff like that. But Maya, everything is there. Like you can get Maya. Like it's what do you say? Its operating window and everything is clear. It's once you get to know about the software, it is better as well. So now you can sign into the software here and you can just fill in your credentials. And once you get verified, you can actually get a free um, subscription from Maya for 1 year and fill up the credentials. And once you get verified, you're done. You're good to go. Now let's jump into the software. So this is Maya. This is the interface. It might look complex. By the way, Maya's loading time is very long. It's like 1.5 minutes to load, which actually scared me when I was starting Maya. So because I was not used to such a big loading time as well. So this is the interface. Now, here, the first step that I would like to teach is the set project. So basically here, you just go to file and you hit set project. So what is a project and what a term that you'll always hear is project and scenes. So basically, project is like a bigger, what do you say? It's like a bigger uh, like for example, if I'm making a 3D animated movie, the name of the project would be the 3D animated movie and the scenes would be the particular characters. Means I could like whatever is there in this file that you can see is known as a scene. But I'll show you how to, I'll show you a better example of this. You hit file and then you hit set project. I'm getting a question how to launch Maya. So once you installed it, you can just we click it. It's you can just launch Maya like that. It's very easy. And now so you can here hit file and then hit project window, and there you will see this where you can hit new and name your project as intro to Maya. Sorry, yeah, okay. And now you can choose your location. So here, and then if you create all these files, that's the basic thing, and hit accept. And here, now when you go to documents and check, you'll see a folder called Maya, after which you have to go to projects and then hit it, the name that you named, which is intro to Maya. So here you'll see the different like the different amount of files here. So what are these? Maya actually helps you to put all these assets or like everything into these particular folders. So it's arranged, pre-arranged for you. So this is what a project is. It will give you the different folders where you can put whatever is required for it. So here is where you put the scenes. So if you save a file here, if you go here and if I save the file, it's actually saved in the scenes. So it's easy for you to access. Now go to source images where you'll see different things here. Source images, where source images is where you can put your reference images as well as your textures. So you can load them up and put them in Maya, okay, with your in your scenes. Now you'll see another thing called images where you this is where you actually save your rendered files. So rendering, just a sneak peek, rendering is basically converting your 3D scene into a 2D image. So it will take a long amount of time based on the details. The more amount of details you have, the more time it takes to render. Now for rendering, actually, if you guys know the P. Sullivan character in Monsters Inc., the animated movie, that character, because of his details, like the hair and stuff, it took 29 hours just to render one frame of his, like one frame. It took 29 hours. So it took nearly 3 months to like render the entire character himself. So that is the more amount of details you have, the more amount of time it takes to render. Okay, so I'm getting another question. Showcase some of your works, and then only I will continue watching. Sincerely. Okay. Okay. So I'll show you some of my recent works. Um. Okay. So these were actually made in Maya. So this is actually rendered in Maya itself, and this is also rendered in Maya. Now, one second. Yeah. Sorry. Here, I do a bit of lighting work as well. So this is one of my projects which I was really proud of. This is actually composited in Photoshop itself, and this is one of the low poly projects that I had actually worked on. So you'll see the inspirations later on, and this is also one of the low poly projects. And so yeah, there is yeah. So these are some of my works, and you can actually create them. It's not that hard. Now, if you're coming back to Maya, you'll see this is the different projects of Intro to Maya. Where okay, so you can see the scenes here. This is where you'll save. Now the rendering is the last process, so we'll not be touching that right now, but you'll get to know later. Okay. Now coming to Maya, now the first thing is to show you guys how to move. So for movement, what you hold Alt and then you hold your left mouse button and you move. So this is how you move. It's very easy. It's not that hard. Now to scroll in, like to zoom in, you just what do you say? You can use your you don't have to hold Alt. You can just use your mouse wheel button. Now to dolly in and dolly out, you can use this, like your Alt and right mouse button. This is called dollying. This is not zooming. This is called dollying. Okay, so this is how you move in Maya. So it's very easy. And what you can see right now is known as the grid. So if I place what do you say, a polygon, it will first land in the grid exactly centered to it. So all the modeling artists use the grid a lot to get a good reference as well. And now what we do here is I'll show you the four different panels that you can work on in Maya. So you just press spacebar. Once you press spacebar, you'll see the different panels that you can work on. A good modeling artist would actually use these, the remaining three panels, and not use the perspective a lot. Even though, like, usually what happens is if I place cube here, nobody works in the perspective mode. They don't work in the perspective mode because they won't get the proper idea of the grid, you know. But if I switch to the top view, you'll see that I can actually you see, scale it up and down or move it according to the grid. So this is why you'll get perfect what do I say, the perfect measurements that is actually required for your models. And this is why they use Maya. So sorry, this is why they use the four panels. Now coming towards, okay, now I'll just, if you want to go back to any view, like you want to scale it full scene, just press spacebar in that particular view. You'll actually go into that view that you require. Okay, so if this is how Maya usually is, but if you do not get an outliner window, what you have to do is go to Windows and then hit outliner here. So once that is done, you'll get the outliner. So what does this outliner do? Outliner is basically whatever I add into the scene, whatever I add into the scene. Okay, it will be highlighted in the outliner. So um, now if I add another cube, you can see the cube, but here maybe it cannot be seen. So I'll just move it here so you guys can see, or everything is there in the outliner. Outliner is basically like the layers in Photoshop, but you cannot edit it as much. Like for example, in Photoshop, I can drag the cube over the cylinder and stuff like that, but in outliner you cannot. In outliner you can hide. How do you hide? Is you hold Control and H together and you can hide it. And to show the hidden file, you can just press Shift and H. Okay, like you have to click on it and then press Shift and H. So it's back. Okay. One more important thing is panning. So if I have to show, if I'm modeling here, maybe I have to see this vertex, but like I can't zoom in that much. So what do I do is I hold Alt and then your middle mouse button. You have to hold your middle mouse button and move your mouse. You can see that I can pan. This is panning in Photoshop. Sorry, in Maya. So it works for this is usually there in every other software as well. So yeah, now if I'm panning a lot, like my center of the camera is like very weird. So like I want to get it back. What do I do is I just press select the object that I'm working on and press F. F will make it full screen mode, so this actually helps a lot during the time of modeling as well. Okay, so remember this, it's F. Okay, and we're good to go. Now, if you guys do not get these, like vertices, like it shows the different vertices, edges, UVs and stuff like that, or these, what you have to do is you have to go to display, hit heads up display, and here whatever you want you can see. Always I would recommend you guys to go for the camera names, caps lock, frame rate, poly count, symmetry, view axis. So these are very important heads up displays which require like for example, if I hit caps lock by mistake, you'll always see the caps lock on. So why is this important is because Maya is case sensitive. So many of the shortcuts that you use uh, or the hotkeys that you use are case sensitive. So it might not work if they are uppercase, or it might not work if they are lowercase. So it's always a must to have the caps lock on because it tells you while you're modeling itself. You might not have you might not be looking down on your keyboard, so it is good to have your caps lock on. Okay, and why is this poly count required? Like while the time I'll be teaching you guys low poly modeling, you'll see that how much this poly count actually helps, because in the during the time of low poly modeling, as the name suggests, it is low poly. You need the very low poly count because it helps like for example, if I'm creating a game, a low poly character models or the low poly models are actually helpful to run the what do I say, to run this like to run the game. It's more optimized in that manner as well. So it'll even give the like I'll be going into low poly later on, but this is just like just to explain. Okay, now the important things here are okay. So the important things that we'll be coming across is object mode and edit mode. Okay, so how do you like this is the object mode. Okay, this is the object mode where you can see your mesh entirely. Okay, like you can't edit your mesh, but you can see your mesh. This is how the object mode, it is usually highlighted in green. So this is your object mode. But now if I want to switch to edit mode, what do I do is I right click on the object and then I go to different all these different things. You can see here all these, whatever is not in object mode and UV is usually in edit mode. Okay, so where you can see all these edge, vertex, face, vertex face, so everything here is in the edit mode. So I'll come across them one by one. So let's get into face. What is face? If you have worked in any 3D software, you'll actually know what face is. um, you It highlights each and every face, so you can hit one face and do like you can select each face. This actually comes really handy later on while we'll be working for modeling. So yeah. Okay, now let's right click again, go to edge mode. So what does edge do? Edge, it helps you to select each and every single edge here. Okay, so like every line is an edge. Now to vertex, what it does is it helps in selecting each and every single vertex here, like each and every single point that comes. It helps in selecting that. Okay, so now when I go back to edge mode, so this is how uh, the edit mode works. Now there are different modes of viewing your model. So you can hit the 4 and you can hit 4 on your keyboard and you will go to wireframe mode. So maybe this actually helps a lot in selection as well as seeing or attaching of like inside the object. Like for example, if I'm making a glass and I want to put this face down, it actually helps me a lot because I can get an X-ray vision through the model itself. And to come back to your mesh mode, you just have to press F5 and then it'll come back. So it's easy as that. Now let's see the different tools that we have in Maya. So the first tool is the select tool, where the shortcut is Q, and what actually it helps is to select the model or to select a particular face, a particular vertices, or anything like that. So it helps to select in that way. Now the next one is the lasso tool, where we won't actually be using this, but it helps like the same as the lasso in Photoshop, the same way. Now we have the next one is pane selection tool. Again, it just helps to select, nothing more. It selects on based on the perspective. Now we have the move tool, which is one of the most important tools that we have in Maya. So now if I go to object mode, what move tool is, you basically move this object. Or if I'm saying, like if I'm going to my face mode, okay, I want to lift this face up, just hit the move tool and you can just lift everything. So it's a very use it's one of the most used and most basic tools in Photoshop. Now for again another one, that is rotate tool, which the shortcut key is E, where you can rotate your model in whichever way you want. So there you go. Now you have the scale tool, where you just have to click and you can scale it in whichever way you want. You can scale it in your Y direction, in your X direction, or in your Z direction. So it's easy, very basic as well. Okay, now let's come to the shortcuts to of Maya. So the shortcuts for Maya is pretty normal. Like Control Z is for like whatever you're doing to come back, the undo button as well. So now if I want to redo what I did, it is Control Y. Okay, but now it won't work because, okay, I'll show you guys. Control Y, it will redo that whatever you have deleted or whatever you've done. Okay, then Control A is to bring out the attribute editor. So what does attribute editor even mean? Attribute editors are, okay, let's show you one. If I'm bringing the object here, it gives you the different things. Here we'll be going deeper into the attribute editor as we start modeling, because the attribute editor takes a long time to learn, to understand. There are many features in the attribute editor that can only be taught practically, because it's hard to understand. Now if I go to there is another thing called channel box editor. Here there is layers, so you might be confused between outliner and layers. So, but layers is when, like for example, if I make this object as a layer, you need to hit create new layer. Okay, so once it's created, you can name it here. which is cylinder. Okay, and hit save. So here it will come as the cylinder, but it won't by default create any layers. But by default, it will make in outliner, but not in layers. You need to assign them in order to make it in layers. Okay, so now one more thing here is like you can see the visibility here, like a particular, if you want to remove that layer, you can see the visibility option here. Hit this and the model disappears, and if you hit it again, it will come back. Then we have the different options where you can see through the object reference. So now what is reference? Reference is when it's just there. It's like locked basically. You cannot use it. You can only use it as a reference. It actually helps a lot while you're bringing an image into Maya to work along with it as a reference image. So this is what you usually do. You create, use, you say make a layer and then you hit reference. Okay. So just there are three different options for it. T for X-ray and R for reference as well. Okay. So now what we'll be doing is we'll delete this cylinder. We don't need it anymore. Okay. So now I'll be showing you guys the shelves. So the first shelf is curves. Before shelves, let's get into this tab. So here you can see the different things that you can do in Maya. So this is why I was talking about, it's so diverse. So like for example, modeling, everything related to modeling is there in this option here. Like when I hit modeling, everything this what is related to modeling is here in this type. Here this is for rendering options where you can see it in real time, as well as here to snap your particular model or your particular vertices to this thing, to the particular thing that is specified. Okay, now here this is your save option, undo button, just quickly, but nobody uses these because you have hotkeys for them. For save you can press Ctrl and S, and so it's there for every other software as well. So now you can, if you go to rigging option, you can see uh, all these, because the skeleton, skin, deform, and everything is changed here. What does skeleton do? It actually helps you to create joints and stuff like that. And for skin, it helps you to bind your joints with your model. So you can move your joints, and then the model moves it along with it. So it helps a lot in the later phases of animation and stuff like that. But we don't need to get deeper into that now. Now, for animation, same. You can play back audio, visualize everything like that. And effects also, there are many end cloths, fluids. So what is end cloth and fluids? Like if you want to make a motion of water and stuff like that, you need to use fluids. And if you need cloth, self-explanatory. Like you can use the term end cloth. You can use end cloth here. Okay. Same goes for particles in hair and stuff like that. So this is the effects tab. Now we have, for rendering, we have a lot of custom stuff as well. So you can do lighting, shading, everything is possible here in the rendering tab. But we are not going that deep into this because we don't need it right now. Now you can customize it as well. You can customize what you want in your customize tab as well. We don't need it. We'll stick to modeling for now. And then we have the different shelves. So what is the shelf? Shelf is helps you to, instead of like the different tools here in Maya is actually obtained from your mesh tools or your edit mesh and stuff like that. Like you'll be hearing a lot of freeze transformations in delete by type of history, where you have to keep going to modify and then stuff. Like you don't have to do that, like select and go to different stuff. You don't have to do that. Everything is here itself, like everything is there in the shell. It's like quick shortcuts basically. So how do you use it? It's, you go here, click the different what do you say, the different shelves are here, like curves. You don't have to learn curves here because we'll be directly leading with poly modeling, but there are two different modeling techniques, that is with curves and surfaces, and the other one is poly modeling. We'll be sticking with poly modeling right now. We don't need to learn about curves, but yeah. Now you can, there is sculpting options, the different sculpting tools for rigging, the different shortcuts for rigging, and for animation as well, like rendering, everything. It's there in the shelves. It's like basically easy shortcuts. So you can just click and then move. Now coming to the most important techniques in modeling, we have a few things that we are actually going to be using a lot. That is the three things which are beveling, extruding, and creating edge loops. So these three things are always done in modeling. Like no matter what happens, these three things are always done. So let's start with creating edge loops. So what is edge loops? Basically, edge loops are this thing. Whatever you can see around, or whatever you can see like flowing right now, this is the edge loop. Like it creates a thing. Okay, what is the use of these edge loops? It's because once the edge loop is created, it creates two faces, or like it creates two vertices and stuff like that. So and you can customize, like you can move whatever you want, like you can move it here, you can move it there, and it helps you a lot in modeling. So creating edge loops is something that we'll always do. So how do you create edge loops? You can go to edit mesh, sorry, go to mesh tools, and you can see insert edge loop, hit here, and then you can drag. Okay, so you can create an edge loop, but this is hard. Like most of the time during modeling, you don't use the insert edge loop and click to drag and stuff like that. You don't actually use that. What do you use instead? Okay, I'm getting a question. What's the role of custom shelf? So basically custom shelves, wait, wait one second. A custom shelf, when I hit this custom shelf, you can actually create like whatever you want in the menus to be there. It'll create, means like wherever here you can see, it will always create the different what do you say, the menus and sets like that. Like here I want the end cloth to be shown here, so you can just click here and then new menu set. You can create a new menu set, and like most of the time, if you're working with two different things, like for example, if I'm working, like I want to make a modeling, let's say a table and a tablecloth together, and I have to go to FX and go to end cloth here, and then pick that for making a, like a blanket or a tablecloth. Then it's a bit hard because you have to go to modeling again, then click here to make the table, and then go to FX and click end cloth, and so it's a bit hard that way. So instead of that, if you want to make a particular menu set, you can make it with the help of customize. You can customize your own menu set in Maya and have whatever you want basically. So I guess that answers your question, and let's get into modeling. Okay, so this is how you create edge loops, but you don't need edge loops. Like this is a bit hard because you don't have, it's you have to create edge loops, you have to go to mesh tools and create edge loop, insert edge loop. You don't have to do that. There is an easier method, which is go to mesh tools and multi-cut tool. So what does multi-cut tool mean? You can press here and create a particular thing, but won't it be hard? Like if I want an entire edge loop around, how do I create it? You just hold control. Okay, sorry, I have to enter it so that it becomes an edge loop. You just have to hold control, and once you hold control, you can actually create an entire edge loop. So it helps in that way. As you can see that the entire edge loop is being made. I just have to press that and it creates an entire edge loop. And how do you access it that fast? Is because you have shelves, and in shelves you have multi-cut tool. where you can just hit this and sorry, you can just hit this multi-cut tool and just hold control, and you can what do you say, create an entire edge loop here. Okay, if you guys have a doubt of what the edge loop does or something like that, so you can just press face, select each and every single. How do you select the entire face like that? Is you press one face, okay, and then you just shift, select, double click. So how do you do it? Is you select one face, select the other one by holding shift and double click. Sorry, double click. So okay, double click. So you can actually select the entire face around. Now, if you're still having doubt, like you can change, like you can bring the size and create a drum or something like that. So it helps in creating edge loops as well. Now, the other one that I was talking about is extrude. So extrude is something that you'll always see it, what do you say, being used. So for example, if I'm selecting this entire ring, and if I hit R, that is scale tool, I just have to hold shift and extrude. So you can see it creates like for example, say a table or something like that. So it helps extrude, helps in just bringing out the faces entirely, and it creates an edge loop where the older face was, means like it just extrudes from that particular face outside. Now you can do this with only the face, so bear that in mind. Or this is a shortcut that was holding shift and extruding, but and the better way is to go for control E. So what does control E do? It brings out the extruding options, where you just have to press the what do you say, the different axes things, and you can extrude it in any manner that you want. Now there are two options here. If you click that, it will select the like it will extrude in a different manner compared to what we say, the other way around. Okay, so now since this is, I feel it's clear, we'll get started with wait, I have to show one more thing, which is um wait, let's see. Okay, for example, if I'm having this, okay, if I'm having a sphere, I'll go into vertex mode. Okay, I'll create something. For example, if I'm making if I'm making like horns and stuff like that, this is the use of the vertex. You can just select a particular vertex, okay, and then you can just move it a bit. Okay, what happens if I move it? Only that particular vertex is moved, no other vertex is moved. But what happens if I want to move a lot of vertices together? For that, we have another thing called soft selection. So the soft selection is also something that we'll be using a lot in Maya. So you just have to press B on your keyboard. That is a shortcut, and you can just move this. So a lot of the other vertices are moved along with this. So this gives you like a lot of freedom and option. But like, how do I change this? Is like to change the amount of vertices that I want to use is you hold B, okay, hold the left mouse button and drag. So if you drag it in whichever way you want, you can actually increase it or decrease it. It's up to you. Okay, move diagonally, and you can the amount of vertices that you can touch is let me see, control with soft selection brush. Okay, so I guess that's clear. Now that's a lot of talking, so let's jump into what low poly modeling is. And since Maya basics are covered, let's jump into low poly modeling. So what is low poly modeling? It is a modeling technique where the lowest possible polygons are used to create in 3D models. So I've explained what faces and vertices are. The more amount of faces, the more the polygon. The more amount of vertices, the more amount of polygon. So Low poly modeling deals with less poly count. That means lesser faces and lesser vertices. Okay, so it looks very simple. It looks really simple. Be clearly honest, it is looks really simple, but it has a different aesthetic towards it. Okay, it is really popular in making mobile games. Okay, this is what you usually see now, because the game is less demanding and it is easier to run. The developers has the ability to like they can focus on the game, like the on the game story and on the game's map, and not focus entirely on how the game is optimized and stuff like that. So this, what you say, relieves the developers quite a lot. So low poly modeling is that particular genre where developers really like it because it's very easy to customize and stuff like that. There is the textures won't take a long time to load because the textures are very easy to make. So that is low poly modeling in brief. Now let's jump into the references. So before creating any good artwork, the most important thing is checking references, according to me. So the one of the best low poly artists that I've seen is Matt Sulik. So I'll show you guys Matt Sulik. He's there on Behance. You can check him out. This is one of his works. So this is low poly modeling, where he has made different variations of it. Like he has first sketched out, and then he has actually modeled and lit and composited on his own. So these are some of his works. You can see this is about Venice, and he has sketched it. This is the Taj Mahal, and this looks really simple, like not that detailed, but it has its own aesthetic. So that is low poly modeling to you. Um, Now notice that how the it's triangulates. Okay, notice how these are triangulates, and notice the hard edges that are there in low poly modeling. So like you can see everything that it's like triangles like sticking out as as well, and like even in the water you can see the hard edges of it. Looks like crystals, to be honest, but this is how it looks. It looks really beautiful, and especially this one, amazing work as well. And now the ship kind of looks a bit of high poly, not gonna lie, but it fits the scene well. And this is one of my references that I had used for my low poly stuff earlier that I mentioned. And yeah, like even the car also has like hard edges where you can notice everything has hard edges and very low poly to look at. Okay. So another artist that I really like is Stephanie Stutz. She's a graphic designer and 3D artist as well. So here is her Stephanie Stutz. So she does character organic modeling for low poly as well, and you can see some of her works. So super talented. She works in Maxon Cinema 4D and not in Maya, but you can achieve the same results in Maya as well. So here is some of her work. Yeah. So this actually looks a bit of high poly, not gonna lie, but yeah, she does landscapes as well. And here are some of her works for that. Beautiful. Now, another reference, a very good artist is Jonah Dinges. So he is also a graphic designer and 3D artist, and you can see his some of his work. He is a master in low poly character modeling. Like he is so good at it. He's so good at it. He animates it as well, and you can see some of his works here. Looks amazing as well. So this is one of my favorite works. Looks beautiful. So, um, you guys can check them out. It's Matt Zulik, Stephanie Stutz, as well as uh, Jonah Dinges. So you can check them out. And now I have a few references where you guys can see it in the second link in the description box, where it will take you guys to a Google Drive link, and it has a series of 10 images on what we will be modeling and what are our references for making the model for 3D, the low poly model. So here, this is one of the images. This is what I'm thinking of, a very like a forest low poly scene. So okay, so here you'll see that the different trees and everything have like hard edges, like the mountains have hard edges and looks triangulate and stuff. Looks very easy to make, has the same textures, no need to what do you say, spend a lot or even uh, customize your own textures in Photoshop and stuff like that. It's very easy with basic stuff that you can see in Maya itself. Now here is another low poly model. We can even create a house, or we'll be making a campfire set, that's for sure. Make few logs maybe here and there, and a pine tree here. Even the pine tree also has like hard edges, you can see. This pine tree is not that detailed compared to the other ones, but yeah, this looks beautiful. Now here also you can see, you can understand the hard edges here. The textures are quite reflective, and they are not only what do I say, they're not flat, they're also quite reflective, so which is something that we will have to look into. Here the terrain looks quite weird, but yeah, looks beautiful. Now here also this is another amazing artwork, where you can see the reflective water and stuff like that. So again, the same artwork but in different angles. Now here you can see the amount of details that you have in the pine tree. It's very detailed. It looks really better compared to the above ones, and the terrain also looks amazing. It's low poly but looks really good. Now this is something which I want to light myself, like here in this scene. I'm thinking of a lighting scene quite like this. It will take a long time, but we'll try to get there eventually. And they have added like an atmosphere, which is why you can see like a foggy stuff. Like we'll be showing you guys like doing it, where you can see the particles clearly and stuff like that. So I'm getting a question: how many edges do you prefer personally for low poly models? There is no particular amount for edges and stuff like that in low poly modeling, but the lesser you keep, the better. But if you have a lot of per se, um, a lot of details in it, I would say to have a more higher amount of edges and poly count compared to not having them, because the more the details you have, it looks better, but it increases the poly count a bit. So it's up to you. As we're not making a game like that itself, we can go for a bit higher detailed model, but not exceeding the, what do you say, the poly count aesthetic. It should look it should look low poly, so that's important. Now next one, this type of artwork, this you might feel is low poly, even though it is low poly, like you feel it's low poly, but it's not that low poly. It's a different art aesthetic. So I just put this image here just so that you guys don't get confused between this, what you feel is low poly and what actually is low poly. So this is these type of artworks you can usually see in games like Valorant and stuff like that, where it's not that low poly. The textures are what do you say, imported, and they are quite high poly, which is a different art aesthetic as well. So do not get confused between the art, the low poly here and the actual low poly. So This is also another one where you can see the different edges and stuff like that. So it looks beautiful. Maybe we can use this inspiration to make a low poly scene ourselves. So I guess that's quite a lot of information, and we can actually start making a low poly scene ourselves. Okay, so once you have learned what the basics as well as now we have checked the references, what you can do is we can make a low poly. We can make something low poly now itself. So how do you do it? It's pretty simple. Uh, okay. So now let's make a new file, new scene. You don't need to save this. So let's start with a new fresh scene. Here in the scene, let's first check the reference for a pine tree. Let's make a pine tree now. So a pine tree, pine tree. How do you make a pine tree? We are not going for something like this. Why? Because it's very less detailed and it does not look good. Even though it is very low poly, it is it is lacking in the field of details quite a lot. So we don't have, since it's low poly, we don't have to uh, have less details or something like that. It's nothing of that sort because we're not actually exporting them into a game asset, and our developers have not said anything like, to make a particular poly counter to achieve that limit. No, there is no limit to it. So it's our choice. Okay, so let's look at a few references. This looks quite good, but um, we don't need it now. Yeah, it's not like matching what I'm looking for. Let's see. Yeah, so yeah, this looks kind of good. Has a lot of details as well. uh, might not look that much, but yeah, it does. And okay, so enough checking for references, let's start making them. So open Maya, creating the new scene. We're done. Okay, so how do you make, there are two ways to make this. There are in Maya, there is no particular one way to check out. Like for example, you can make any type of what do you say, you can make any type of your what do you say, your model can be any type, like any way you can make it. There is no only particular one method to make that particular pine tree, for example. Like a pine tree here can be made with just maybe, like for example, cones. Like you can just arrange these cones like one cone after the other, and you can still get the same result. Okay, but as a modeler, this is like you can see, you actually get the what do you say, shape of a pine tree now itself. uh, like some, I just move this up and then move this a bit down and increase the scale. You can see this actually looks like a pine tree, but this is not low poly. Here you can see the amount of poly count is quite high. Why? Because you're adding polygon primitives over and over on top. But this is not modeling. This is just arranging basically. Modeling, a good modeling artist would never do this. He would actually use one particular polygon model, one particular polygon, just to what do you say, just to make the entire thing is actually just made with one particular what do you say, one particular polygon primitive. So uh, I'll show you guys. So here you hit polygon cylinder. Okay, a cylinder for a pine tree, yeah, it is cylinder. It is I'll show you guys how to do it. Pretty simple. Just raise this up, go to your side view or your front view, whichever you want, and you can just scroll in and just put this according to the correct grid that you want. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so now what you have to do, go to your perspective view, click right click and go to face mode. After you've gone face mode, we are in soft selection mode, which we do not need. So just hit B back again just to make it again. Okay, so here select all the faces. So how do you select face? You don't have to keep doing this. For that, what you have another shortcut, that is hold tab. Once you hold tab, you'll get this screen. You just have to drag your mouse and it actually selects the entire face. So I'll show that again. What you can do is you can hit one face, hold tab, and select the entire rest of the face. So it's quite easy in that way. Now hold F, where you can see it will full screen mode for you. If you can actually see it in full screen. Now hold R and bring it here. So if you go to the front view, where you can see this goes here, right? Now press W, move down, bring it down. Okay, once you bring it down, this is what you'll see. Now what we need to do is we need to extrude this particular model here and bring it so that we can make the one more, the same thing here, one more. So how do you extrude? Is you press R, hold shift, and then you can extrude. So just go to your like the, you can better off you can go to top view and just check it out here, because you'll see the exact particular amount of dimension or the how small it has to be and stuff like that. So that way it's very useful. Now just go to your front view and hit W and hit extrude. You can see it creates one more layer. Okay, after this you just have to press R, scale it down again. Okay, after scaling it down, hit W, bring it down. But this, like in the top view, you can see it's not that enough, so you just bring it a bit above and increase the scale once more. Okay, like quite here is enough, I guess. It looks pretty good. Okay, now hit R again, hold your shift and bring it a bit more above. Okay, and then hit W and bring this above. So then hit W and hit hold shift and hit extrude. Okay, once that's done, you can hit R again, scale it down. Okay, but now you'll notice that this what do you say, you just have to keep doing this, but instead of that there is another option where you can go to wait 1 second. Yeah, so guys, there is the attendance form that is there in the form is actually given. You can just clear it and you can fill the form and then you can get your attendance as well. Okay, so now for that you just need to press, sorry, collapse. Okay, so once you've done that, you just need to go to your vertex mode, hit that particular vertex and move it to particular, like here in the center. For this I would recommend the top view and the side view as well. But now you can see this, the what do you say, this does not look like a proper pine tree. So you can just move this here and bring these a bit, like reduce the size and stuff like that. Now go to your perspective mode and just select, or you can just go to wireframe mode. This is where the wireframe actually comes a lot in use. Just click one selection, just click one place and you can what do I say, what do you say, it will select the uh, every other vertices in that particular loop. Okay, so let's match this very well, and you can go to your object mode and just check it out. Okay, it looks okay. And let's go one more time maybe, and select the entire stuff. Bring it a bit down. Okay, and select every other thing here and increase it a tad bit and bring it a bit down. So it looks like a pine tree now. Okay, you guys can spend more time maybe and check out what suits you guys a bit more. So yeah, one more time here, and that looks like pine tree. Okay, so now let fire again. So just to bring back to mesh mode. Now go back to object mode, press W on the keyboard and bring it a bit up. Okay, so now we have a pine tree. Okay, so how do you bring, okay, now so we can see a bit of low poly, but this is not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is a bit more detailed, and we'll see what you can do. Now hit here. Here, okay, let's bring one more cylinder here. What does one more cylinder do is you can scale it down, okay, and bring it a bit up. Actually, we don't have to do this right now. We can do this after the entire process. I'll show you. Select the entire what do you say object and hit you say delete by type. After that, it's here in the shelf, and then after that, hit freeze transformation. After you've done that, select it again and go to mesh, hit retopologize. Right next to retopologize, we have a square button, hit that. So what does retopologize do? Retopologize, as it means, is it what do you say, topologize the entire stuff again. So what is topology? Topology is like basically the edge flow. Okay, so however this thing is like how the pine is created is from here the edges flow till the bottom. Okay, you can see the edges flow from here till the top. So that's how the edge flow of the pine tree is. Now if I retopologize, it topologizes the entire what do you say pine tree again. Like it will add more amount of faces, more amount of vertices, more amount of edges and stuff like that. So um, this is what retopologize actually does. Now if you're retopologizing, won't it like affect the low poly? If you guys have a question, like it increases the face, increases the vertices, that means it increases the poly count. Yes, it is true, but if you're retopologizing right now, you have the more liberty to uh, add a bit more details, and then later on there is another process through which you can bring down the low poly. You can bring down the low poly, and after you bring down the low poly, you can give it that low poly aesthetic that we have been looking at so many reference images for. So you have to retopologize for now. Why? Because it will help you in sculpting. That is the thing that we'll be covering next. So hit let's say target face count of about 10,000. So hit retopologize, where no wait, and before hitting retopologize you need to bring the face uniformity to 1 and hit retopologize. Okay, so Maya will retopologize the entire stuff, like the entire object that we have, and it might take a bit of time based on your system. You will actually get it faster or later, or it's up to you. Okay, so based on your system right now. If you see this, you'll see more amount of faces, more amount of vertices, and you can see the amount has increased. It's 5k figures now. Sorry, it's 5 figures now. So it is a high poly object now. It's not low poly, it's high poly, but high poly helps a lot. The next step, that is sculpting. Go to your sculpting shelf, hit lift surface. Okay, this is how sculpting is done in Maya. It's taking a bit of time. Yeah, okay. Sculpting is, how do you sculpt? Is you just press that particular layer. Okay, what am I doing right now? It's because the brush is very strong. That's why this is happening. How do you decrease the brush strength? Is you hold M, left mouse button, and bring it down. So after that, you can see that the brush's strength has been reduced, but let me reduce it a bit more. Okay. um and just go around the entire pine tree, just adding a bit of like, no pine tree looks like the same, so let's also bring that same effect to every pine tree that we make, uh, in every model that we make as well. So no, in real life, no pine tree looks like the same as the other one. Same way, every pine tree is unique. So so let's also bring that into consideration. Now, this is bringing the surface out. So like, it brings out the particular surface outside, but to make it go inside, you just have to press control. After you hold control, you'll see that the model, like, the it goes inside the model. The brush strokes go inside the model. Basically, it is a uh, basically like pushing the surface inside right now. Okay, so this might be quite enough. Okay, like, we don't need to do it a bit more. So this is how sculpting is. I hope you guys understood. Go to lift the surface and then you can change. Okay, once you're happy with what you have, just press Control to go to select mode. Okay, and then you can first of all save the object. Why? Because Maya can crash because of the more amount of poly count. Chances are that it can crash based on your system, as well as the RAM and the amount of other like the other softwares that are running. So there is, uh, yeah, okay. So Kumar Krishav, you asked a very good doubt. Like, can we reduce the brush circumference? Yes, thanks for asking this one. You just have to go, like, first hit your lift the surface one, the tool. After this, you hold B. This is the same way how I taught you for this thing, for your for soft selection. The same way, you hold B. Okay, if you hold B, you just move your left mouse button. This is how you change your entire what do you say, brush sizes in Maya itself. So you can see that this what do you say, increases the brush size, and the area of effect is also increased. Thanks for asking that. um, and let's start with the next process of, we first save the file. Actually, how do you save the file? Control and S, you'll save the file. Let's save this as pine, let's save it as low poly C, low poly game C, sorry. Okay, so after that, you just hit save as, and Maya will save it exactly in scenes. So you can see in scenes, you can see the low poly game scene. This is the file that we have been working on. It is a binary file. There are two ways that Maya saves. One is ASCII and one is binary. So this file is very small, which is 178 KB. So it's a small file. Maya files are usually small as well. Okay. So, but the projects files are the ones that are like really big, because it has different things like textures and many other stuff like that. So, let's say the project files are bigger than the scenes. Okay. So now let's get into let's go to the poly modeling shelf, and here you need to hit freeze transformation. Okay, if you guys have a doubt on what freeze, you have to first select the object and then hit freeze transformation. If you have a doubt on what freeze transformation is it's basically, if I move this one, if I move this translate or anything, uh, and if I hit freeze transformation now, what actually happens is here everything goes zero. So you don't actually need that. So like, you don't actually need that, but always hitting freeze transformation helps you to like get a good reference as well. Now go to delete by type. It removes every other thing that you don't need. Okay, and after you hit that, just select the object and go to wait 1 second. Okay, let's go to retopologize again. Why retopologize? Because This time we're going to reduce the amount of faces. Okay, so let's hit a good 4000 right now and bring the face uniformity right down to 0 and hit read apologize. Now Maya will take a long time because it's a big high amount of what we say topology to a low amount of topology actually takes quite a bit of time. So yeah, now based on the system, this process takes time. Okay, now you can see that the process has finished and Maya has actually reduced a lot, like a high amount of poly count. So now what do we do is we hit mesh display. Wait, not mesh display. You go to edit mesh. I'm not wrong. There will, okay, sorry, go to mesh. Sorry, go to mesh and hit triangulate. So what does triangulate do? Um, okay. One thing that I forgot to mention is triangulates are used in game scenes. Quads are used in uh, in every other thing like modeling or animation or any other thing. We use quads. Okay. So quads. Okay. Now I think you guys can understand what this means. Like you can see triangulates here. A face. If I bring out a sphere, if I move it here, and you can see this is quads. Each and every single face is constituted with 4 vertices, whereas in triangulates, each face is actually contributed, like actually made with 3 vertices. Why does this help? It's because it helps in more, what do you say, reducing the poly count and stuff like that for game developers, and that's why no game developers actually go for quads. They make their game assets into triangulates. So that's what we'll also be using. And you can see in every single reference image that we have seen, for example, let's go to Mad Select. You can see that they're triangulates. Okay, they have this triangular things to them. You can see that. Okay, you can see each and every single thing is a triangulate, not a quad. Okay, it's a triangulate, not a quad. That's why we'll also be sticking to with it, and we will stick with triangulates. But now, even though it is triangulates, the amount of edges and faces are way above compared to that of a low poly. How do we reduce this? Just go to mesh, and there is an option of reduce. Hit reduce, and Maya will take a bit of time again. And once it reduces, we'll see what you have to do. After you hit reduce, it will reduce the amount of poly count and the amount of vertices and stuff like that. So that's what is. This takes a bit of time, but the results are very different. Like you won't be right now. You might have a percentage of 50, but you can change that by hitting percentage. We'll do change it to 80. Like you can see the edges and faces are really reduced. Like it has come down from 5k figures to like nearly 2550. So it's very less right now. So let's actually bump it up a bit more. Let's say around 88 percentage. It's just a rounded number. It might take a bit more time again. Maya will take, but it is really powerful. So let's see. Okay, so it's reduced quite a bit, but now this I'm actually happy with this. But yeah, okay, I'm actually happy with this. But you can see this is nothing what these people make. Like their edges actually pop out. How do you do that? You do that with a simple thing called as hard edges, which you will be seeing. Wait, let me just check that out. One second. Yeah, so go to mesh display and you can see harden edge, and here it will harden the edge. So my again is taking a long time. This is mainly because we retopologized it a lot. So because of that, Maya will take a long time. But if you don't retopologize and do that step, what happens is that you don't get that much details. So, but now look at the result. The looks really good, really low poly. Look at the amount of edges. It's really yes. So you have created the leaves, which is the most important part in the pine tree. You have actually completed that. So this is how the result looks. It looks really low poly, triangulate, and yeah. But once you triangulate, you can't see the the edge flow is being completely changed. Like it's not from the start there and end here, but it is completely different as it's triangulates. Okay, so no, now it looks like the pine tree is floating. So let's quickly make a trunk for it. So how do you make it? You just make a cylinder, hold W, go to your side view or your front view, and bring it down. Okay, and then go to your perspective view. After that, just hit your face view and hit full screen mode so that you can see it better. Hold tab, select the entire face. Okay, and after that just check around if any other edge that you don't want has been selected, and if not, so you can just move it up a bit, move a bit left, and extrude it. How do you extrude? You hold shift and you extrude it up. Now move it a bit towards the right, because let's just say you want a bit not like, no, it's not look like natural kind of stuff. Okay, but before we extrude it, let's just do one thing, which just load up the channel box editor, go to poly cylinder here. Okay, what does poly cylinder do? What does this inputs do? It actually helps you to reduce the amount of vertices and stuff like that. So right now it's a bit different because we extruded it a bit, so that's why go to poly cylinder again. You never reduce your subdivisions after you, like during the time of modeling. You never do that. Why? Because it will change your entire topology. So you never stick, you always stick with changing your subdivisions and stuff like that before you model. So like once you have the cylinder, now hit subdivision axis of around, let's say 10 maybe, I don't know. Oh wow, okay, so it's been changed. See, once it's changed, it's really hard. So you go hit object mode, hit poly cylinder again. Okay, and then you change the subdivision axis to around 10, let's say 10. So now you can see that the it has completely changed. Okay, so 10 seems about fine, seems quite low poly to me. So let's go to face mode again. Select this. How do you select? You hold this, sorry, select one face and hold tab and select the entire thing. Press sorry, move the tool a bit, move towards the left. Okay, hold shift, extrude, and you're good to go. This actually looks like pine tree now, a low poly pine tree. Now you can do one thing, which is go to mesh display and harden edge, and because of that it looks really low poly now. Every edge sticks out and it looks really low poly. So congratulations guys, you have actually created your first pine tree, and now you can duplicate it. How do you duplicate? If you have a doubt, duplication is done by pressing shift D. Okay, but and you can just move this stuff, but like it's a bit hard. Like for example, if I'm moving and I have to press shift D every time I have to move, it is a bit hard. So what do I have to do is I have to just hold shift. When I move it in whichever direction I want, you can see there is an option of clone. Clone is the same as copy, so you just copy whichever way you want. So it's just, now it's just like you can see in the reference images that we had, everything is the same pine tree. They just copied and duplicated it everywhere. Okay, and that helps you to create the entire scene. But the way how they arrange and the way how each and every, like, they might, like, not this same tree looks like this one, but this one does look like this and this does look like this, but they changed it. How? By scaling it up a bit. They scaled it and actually looks like a different tree compared to the rest. And moreover, with all this, with the pine tree that you have learned, you can make different variations of pine tree. Like, I would suggest to have at least 3 to 4 pine tree variations. Okay, if you have 3 to 4 pine tree variations, you can definitely, like, duplicate it, like how we have seen. You can definitely duplicate it and arrange it in specific ways, just to look that different. You know, have, you can see that different feel. Like, once you see this, you'll see that everything looks a bit different at the start. Like, when I was showing the references, it might have looked, what do you say, like, the different, there were different pine trees and stuff like that. So have 3 variations at least minimum, and then you can easily create a good landscape like this. Okay, so after the pine tree is done, let's save the file because Maya might crash, who knows. So this is a pine tree, and there's one more copy of it which we don't need. So here, this is the pine tree. Let's start naming them. So this is the pine tree leaves. Pine tree leaves. How do you rename? You just have to click on the, uh, like, if this is the cylinder, you just have to double click, and then you'll go to that particular, you know, cylinder, and you can just press pine tree trunk maybe. Yeah. So now, if you, I can group them. How do I group them? You just have to, like, hold shift, select the other things, or you can just select like them in that itself. So it basically depends on your preference. And then press Control and G, the same as in Photoshop. So Control and G, and then just double click on the group one and name it as pine tree. Okay, so now pine tree has been same. Okay, so what happens if you want to, okay, this is a grouping. I don't think we need grouping. So what we can do is we can combine them. How do we combine? Is, like, you can make this as one object. That's what I want. So how do you do that? You go to mesh and you hit combine. You get first select these two, go to mesh and then hit combine. So Maya will do that. It might take a bit of time, and because the amount of surfaces and stuff like that, it has to combine, so it will take its time. And yeah. Okay, so now Maya has combined. So uh, you can see this is in one object, and this is in group one, which you can't delete right now, because if I delete the group one, so everything goes. Even though the pine tree is right there, it goes. So I would recommend, sorry, one more second. I will take a bit of time to bring back that object that we just lost, because it had a lot of surfaces and stuff like that. So one thing that I would recommend is to have a copy of the pine tree leaves, and after that you don't have to depend on this group one. So you can just hold shift, okay, like you hit pine tree leaves, uh, okay, you just have to clone it here, okay, and then select this thing and select this, and you can delete it. Now nothing happens. This is an entire fucking, it is an entire polygon. So you can see it here. It is an entire polygon. So um yeah, you can now clone it here, you can clone it there, like you can do everything here. So it is easy, it is very easy to understand. Like, uh you combine them, and then you, what do you say, you delete the thing by making a polygon mesh. So that's done. Okay, so yeah, great. So this is the pine tree. Now I want to hide this, and let's say, oh, let's make a rock. Okay, so a rock is easy. It's very easy to make, but it like you can see this rock is actually kind of easy to make, but like once you learn it, it's very easy. Press Control H to hide. We don't need to see it right now because we'll be working on the um, rock. Yeah. So to make a rock, you guys need to hit Create. Go to Polygon Primitives. Why we are going to Polygon Primitives? Because we don't see that option here. Okay. Even though Platonic Solid is here, it's we don't have to say like uh, you don't have to go for it now. We can I'll show you the best way. Like here you can see the different amount of polygons that we have. So uh, here you have plane, you have like cone, cylinder, torus, and everything. So it has everything. So go hit the platonic solid. Okay, after hitting the platonic solid, you can scale it up, just like have a better vision, and hit W. Oh, sorry, hit F to like full screen. After that, go to your vertex mode, just to take this, hit W, and move it a bit up. Why are we doing this? Is because you can see that in the reference images here, it feels like it's horizontal below. So same way we are going to go for sorry, we're going to go for that itself. So you can go to object mode, hit E, hit J. Okay, what J does is you can move it exactly in the particular direction that you want. Like it will go into round off this thing. It will round off your rotate, but you'll see that when you rotate you don't have a proper angle to follow. But when you hold J and do it, like when I hold J and then I move it, it actually works. Like it will just go to your particular fixed angles that you want. So that helps in that way. Now hit W and you move it a bit up. Okay, after you move it, after you move it you can, yeah, you can just go to your view, let's say, yeah, your side view, and just change it a bit to the we say, like to make it horizontal. After that, what the process is. You have to go to your mesh, retopologize, and make the thing as 5000, let's say 5000, face uniformity as full. Hit retopologize. It will take a bit of time, but yeah, it's done. Because it's just one single polygon, it won't take that much amount of time compared to that as the pine tree. Okay, so right now we need to sculpt. So how do we sculpt? Let's go to sculpting shelf, hit lift the surface. Okay, let's just check a few references just before we get into it. Okay. So now you just sculpt. Let's increase the strength a bit more because it is a rock. And okay, sorry, let's increase the brush size as well. So yeah, here, let's hold control and bring this down because we don't need it to go that high. Okay, this looks like a weird shape. Let's control Z that and hit control again. Okay, and oh wait, let's bring this down a bit more. Okay, and this also a bit more. here, here also. Control, bring it down. Here as well. Okay, just bring it down. Let's increase the strength here. So, sorry. Okay, now this vertex, sorry, this particular vertex here is actually taking a quite of a problem. Like you can't bring it down during sculpting. So how do you do that? Is you just go to the face mode. Okay, hit that face that you want. Go to soft selection and bring up the soft selection. Hit W and sorry, control Z that. Yeah, bring that down. So yeah, done. Now you just have to go to object mode. Ooh, that's a bit too much. So let's bring that down. Okay. Let's not go to soft selection, just try it. Yeah, okay, it does go down a bit. So yeah, good to go. Here. Now let's increase the soft selection once more and bring it down. Now go to vertex again, remove the soft selection and bring it down. Okay, and done. Yeah, looks quite good. Now we'll go to edit mesh and sorry, go to mesh, retopologize again, and we'll bring that down to 3000. Okay, and remove the face uniformity and hit retopologize. After doing that, let's give Maya a moment. Yeah, so after it is done, you just need to go to mesh display. Sorry, not mesh display. Go to mesh, triangulate. And Maya will again take its time. Okay, so after triangulate is done, you can see this is the rock how it looks. And go to your mesh again and go to reduce. This time let's make the reduction a lot because it's a rock itself, so you don't need to have that much amount of detail. So let's go and press 95 and hit reduce. This might take a bit of time because of the amount of high percentage that we have, and it has to reduce. Okay, so this does look good. Yeah, let's increase it a bit more though, I feel. 97 seems fine. Okay, okay, so 97 seems fine. This, yeah, this does look good. So now in the process you have to go to mesh display, harden edge. So after you do that, the rock will look low poly. Okay, yeah, so this is the rock looks like it has more details. Let's increase one more time. Let's harden the edge one more time. Okay, so nice, this looks better, looks more like a rock now. And what are these, what will be using for, what will you be using for these rocks? Like you can use these for the campfire rocks, you know, like you have here, you have these campfire rocks. So they are quite like horizontal below, or you can just use the same. They have duplicated this and then kept it here. So like one of the rocks from behind, and then they have just kept it here. For these rocks we can use different again, but you don't need to use this much amount of detail which is used here. Okay, so this is how you can make a easy rock, very easy. Just let's rename this as rock. Okay, now you can just reduce the scale. You don't need that big, so let's reduce the scale and keep it down. Okay, now with um, holding W, you can just move this and move it here again, move it here again, move it here again. But like you can arrange them in a better manner, like here and then again here and then again here, again here, again here, once more. Okay, so like now as you can see, it actually creates like the stone, the things that you can see in the campfire. Like you know you can actually reduce this size a bit more so it actually fits. And now you can just press W and then increase maybe this size a bit. This size you can reduce it a lot. Hit W, move it here, hit R, scale it up a bit. You can add, no two rocks looks the same, so you can scale it towards the left as well. You can completely change the way how it looks. Like you know you can actually bring it to the sides a bit. You can the possibilities are endless here, so up to you how you want your rocks to look like. And here is it. Okay, so here you can actually see that you made a campstone, like campfire. Like you can put your campfire here and then you can make it like exactly how it looks here. So in that way you have completed like the campstone fire as well as a pine tree. Now in your let's say, okay, so now I'll just rename each and every single one of them. You don't have to combine them. Why? Because you're not going to use it. Once the campfire is made, the campfire is only going to be in that particular position. It's not going to, you're not going to duplicate that anyway. Only like one select, like you only need one set of campfires. You don't need everyone. So um like you can just hit Control G, double click, and let's make it campfire rocks. Okay, so done. So in that way you have completed. Okay, let's also like cut this properly. Oh, sorry, about here and E. Oh, wait, sorry. Let's go to top view and then move it. Sorry, top view here. Okay, and then just move it up a bit. Hold W, go to the right, hold E, go to it here. Object mode, done. Perspective mode. Okay. So in that way you have completed the campfire and your pine tree. Let's just unhide it, shift H, and you're done. Let's actually reduce the size of all the campfire. You don't need it that big. So this much seems fine. And let's increase both of them a bit. Yeah, okay. So hit W, move it up. Let's campfire stones looks like really it's messed up because we scaled it a lot. So let's just move the pine tree like right now. Let's just move the pine tree and the campfire has done. Okay, so now in the next what do you say tutorial, we'll be doing what do you say a bit more about like a pine tree, as well as creating an entire terrain. So creating this entire terrain, as well as the mountains there background, as well as a bit of grass, and like make even a house or something. We'll actually what do you say we'll get deeper into low poly modeling the next session. So follow our tag Instagram, just like know and get updated with the coming posts. And yeah, so that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching.